Coming up, Tzu Chi once again attends the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women held in New York. In Taiwan, volunteers help a Kaohsiung woman clean up her home to prevent the spread of dengue fever. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee Shioda. Thank you for joining us. We begin today's program in the United States. In New York City, the 60th session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women was recently held. The focus of this year's gathering was the ongoing campaign for women's empowerment and sustainable development by 2030. The goal is to promote gender equality as well as equal rights and responsibility for men and women across the globe. Taking part, Tzu Chi held a talk at one of the sub-forums on how to empower women.
Here in New York, the UN Commission on the Status of Women held its 60th annual forum. Tzu Chi was in attendance and hosted a presentation in one of the sub-forums under the title, Empowering Women to be Leaders of Sustainable Development. Tzu Chi invited representatives from the National Haitian American Elected Officials Network and the UN representative from Solar Cookers International to join the discussion on the importance of women in leadership roles at the local level.
When we empower women with health and education, we actually empower a family.
And as a CSW, how are we going to work together? That's the mission. We are here.
And so to find out that other religious organizations are out there supporting other faiths is just extremely eye-opening and makes me very happy to know that.
So what advice would you give me as a young girl to get involved and help my other females and contemporaries?
Inspire them. They have to do it by themselves, from their heart.
The representative for Solar Cookers International to the UN, Alan Bigelow, especially emphasized how a simple change in the way meals are cooked can improve the living conditions for women and children.
This is an example of what leads to indoor air pollution and health effects that are really lowering the potential for women in our world today. There is energy poverty for cooking, and we like to introduce solar cooking as a solution to that, and particularly how it fits in with the role of women and empowerment of women.
This presentation was an excellent learning opportunity for the advancement of women in society through the use of new innovations in cooking that will contribute to sustainable development.
Tzu Chi's Northern California chapter has been working with the Internal Revenue Service of the United States to help low-income families file their annual tax returns for the past 10 years. With Tzu Chi's 3 service points in San Jose, San Francisco, and Auckland, the volunteers assist between 700 to 800 families every year. This service is a great help, especially to people who face language barriers.
Every year, around 700 to 800 families always go to Tzu Chi Northern California chapter for the tax service.
你们是讲广东话还国语？普通讲国语哈。OK， 这边。您今年是不需要报税的，可是
You don't need to pay the tax this year, but to ease your mind, I'll help you fill out the form, okay?
With help from the professionals, people will know if they must pay the tax or get a refund.
很多家庭有
Many families have problems in this area. One is the language barrier, and the other is they don't know much about the tax law, so they do not get a refund when they should.
Petra Suhomenova emigrated from the Czech Republic 5 years ago. She enjoys serving people as it brings her joy and satisfaction.
When you do the interview with the taxpayer, you have to think ahead, you have to remember, there is a California renter's credit, or I think it's a great skill that I'm learning here if I ever want to work as a tax professional, to think ahead about a lot of things. So it makes me learn a lot.
A Hindu family has been coming here for 10 years.
I come over here last 10 years, and his service is very good.
Excellent. 10 out of 10.
Helping the new immigrants complete their annual tax returns, Tzu Chi volunteers hope they can live in the United States with peace of mind.
Tzu Chi volunteers continue their aid program for refugees in Serbia. To reach those in need, they recently drove for 7 hours from Sid to a refugee camp in Presevo. Before the borders closed, some 800,000 refugees had passed through here. Now some 700 still remain. The volunteers gave them winter jackets as well as tried to understand their needs.
At the traditional market near the refugee camp in Sid, Tzu Chi volunteers are buying up supplies for refugees in Preserville. Later, they also inventory the winter jackets to be given out.
我们这里是刚刚讲的是88，对，88。
Taking off at 4 a.m. on March 17th, the volunteer drove for 7 hours before reaching Preserville, a town by the border of Serbia and Macedonia. Originally an abandoned factory, the refugee camp currently shelters more than 700 refugees from Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan.
I hope to open the borders of Croatia to across to another country from Croatia to Germany. And in Germany, I hope to live in peace and work right there.
Guided by the camp staff, the volunteers then inquire the refugees about their conditions,
medical service,
and give out the jackets they brought from Sid. Every peace charms that goes along with each jacket has brought smiles to the refugees' faces.
We don't want to stay and sleep or eat. We want to cross and keep going to our trip to arrive the country we hope.
The family's wish is shared by many others here. Despite their uncertain future, the refugees enjoy the moment of joy and friendship the volunteers have brought them.
Taiwan. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Continuing with our reports in Serbia, as the spring equinox March 20th also marks the new year for many countries in the Middle East and Central Asia, refugees still celebrated the festive occasion even though they were at the refugee camp. Meanwhile, Tzu Chi volunteers have also invited refugees to sample Tzu Chi's instant rice, which has just arrived in Serbia from Taiwan.
Adding dehydrated vegetables, rice, and hot water to the thermal bucket before stirring them, Tzu Chi volunteers are demonstrating easy steps taken to prepare instant rice, which was just transported from Taiwan to Serbia. The members of Commission for Refugees and Migration are impressed since no stove was used during the process. The volunteers have also invited 30 refugee representatives from Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria to try tasting instant rice. Haven't tasted rice for a long time, they finish it right away.
Normally in Syria, when you eat rice, you eat together with what dishes then?
Yeah.
What dishes you eat with together?
Rice with potatoes or something, with soup or something.
Soup,
yes.
right,
But white rice.
White
rice, yeah.
How you find about this flavor and tomato flavor?
The flavor is it's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Oh, like it so much then?
Yes, it's but it need to some salt.
The rice was good. It was like our custom rice because in Afghanistan we eat every night rice. It's our dinner, mostly with rice. It was really good, like our custom foods. But it was a little bit dry. If it will be a little bit wet, it's much better.
Next, through the translation of members of Commission for Refugees and Migration, the volunteers explained that every grain of rice is imbued with the love of Tzu Chi volunteers, so people should cherish food. Then they also introduced Tzu Chi's early days, hoping to inspire the listeners' compassion. As the vernal equinox also falls on the new year on the Iranian calendar, many refugees from the Middle East and Central Asia celebrate the occasion despite being on a voyage. Tzu Chi volunteers have also joined the celebration in hopes that the refugees' future may be filled with hope, like this joyous moment.
While consumers are worried about buying a home built with unprocessed industrial waste, builders and the gravel industry are just as worried too about the problem, for they have to compensate homeowners if slag is found in these homes. To minimize their liability and rebuild their reputation, the industry has banded together to control slag contamination. We find out what sort of control has been put in place.
In here are pieces of slag in various shapes and sizes. If they are grinded down and mixed thoroughly with regular sand and gravel, there is just no way to tell them apart with the naked eyes.
Both the construction waste processing plants and quarries are in chaos. They know industrial waste has contaminated their product.
For selling contaminated construction aggregate, the concrete industry has had to pay over $3 million in compensation annually. The headache is not the homeowners alone, but also shared by builders and the industry.
There isn't a construction company that will willingly use this contaminated concrete, knowing that the problem will surface shortly, as it will be liable for them to redo the work from scratch.
Currently, the government has not implemented any control measures before the construction begins, and thus can only find businesses involved after the problem surfaced.
If contaminated concrete is used, the builder will be fined. Ultimately, the company might lose its business license. This is our current punishment.
However, it is more effective to prevent the contamination in the first place. Thus, the industry has banded together to put an end to the contamination. The pH indicator test is conducted by adding a phenolphthalein solution to the tested gravel inside a flask.
If it's contaminated with slag, the solution will turn red.
However, such a simple pH test has a low accuracy, especially when the concentration of industrial waste is low.
利用这个所谓的 SRF 化学分析方法来检测它的。
This X-ray fluorescence spectrometer can provide a more accurate test. However, a unit is well over $100,000.
If the gravel has a high concentration of iron, then it might be contaminated with some slag.
As slag always has a high iron concentration, those companies who can't afford a spectrometer can use a powerful industrial magnet instead.
We will place an industrial magnet on the conveyor belt. If the magnet is picking up a lot of slag, then this batch of gravel will be discarded.
Theoretically, a powerful magnet can draw out the iron inside, but this only accounts for 1/3 of slag out there.
So the magnet detection is not bulletproof. Thankfully, the National Taiwan Ocean University has come out with an accurate, quick, and inexpensive solution after years of research. The test subject is grinded down into powder and then shifted. It was gravel before, but now it's powder. 10 grams of the powder is then thoroughly mixed with 90 millimeters of water. Then the solution is ready to be tested.
If it's contaminated, its pH level will be on the high side.
If the pH level is higher than 9, the test sample is surely contaminated by industrial waste. The method can even detect 0.1% concentration of contamination.
We have been visiting concrete companies to teach them how to do the test. Every time a truck comes in, they can perform the test and find out in 20 to 30 minutes.
Starting from March of next year, all 350 companies that have joined the Concrete Industry Association will be adopting the test.
The steel industry, the EPA, the Industrial Development Bureau, and the gravel industry. We must all work together to put an end to this out-of-control situation.
This is surely the only way, as once industrial waste is built into a building, detecting it becomes very difficult for both slag and concrete are alkaline, thus rendering the pH test obsolete. This is why it has been very difficult to pinpoint the problem of a home on slag contamination. Rich in spirit is worth more than being wealthy financially. In today's Tzu Chi 50th anniversary report, we see how through Tzu Chi's influence, many of society's disadvantaged find it within their heart to save something for the less fortunate, whether it is handfuls of rice like the poor farmers in Myanmar or through daily coin donations like a man stricken by a stroke.
眼睛这样只能看到中间这。
My eyesight is limited now, but through the camera lens, my field of vision is much broader.
A stroke 15 years ago left Hong Shunfa visually impaired, but his world opens up when he picks up a camera.
我会把它当作我第三只眼。
It's like my third eye, because through the eye of the camera, I can capture beautiful images. When I look through the viewfinder, it's as if my worries have been lifted.
我的心情一直就打开了。
Hong always carry a camera with them to capture any worthwhile moment.
清清澈澈，对吧？
Hong loves to share his photographs with others. Once on a ruthless track to success when young, it was a debilitating illness at the age of 38 that slowed him down.
感恩在这上天拢真正也留头前遐咧。
I am grateful that the heavens spared some of my vision and didn't take it all away from me. God wanted me to look forward, straight ahead, instead of getting sidetracked.
正前方啊，唔通去看後面啊。
Hong used to spend money frivolously in the past, but now he has finally learned the value of $1, as his only income, the 4,000 NT dollars monthly disability fund, can barely get him by.
To me, $1 now is much more valuable than $1,000 of the past. It's honest money now.
Having fallen on hard times, Hong now repents for his once lavish ways. Living a simple life, he donates his lunch money to help the less fortunate instead, and can fill 2 coin banks a year. He said he was inspired by Myanmar's farmers.
Before they cook their meals, the farmers would grab a handful of rice to give away. When I heard of the story, I was reminded of myself.
To repay Tzu Chi's assistance in the aftermath of Cyclone Nargis of 2008, some Burmese farmers have been saving their rice before every meal for charity as a way to pay it forward.
I want to be like Tzu Chi volunteers and help many people. My ability to help is limited, so I want to begin by saving a handful a day to help.
Despite being poor, the impoverished can still give within their means. As Tzu Chi volunteers continue to serve in Myanmar, more and more farmers have also joined the cause.
Though we still have debts to pay and are still struggling, we can still make a little donation.
This Rice for Charity campaign has even propagated to Malaysia, where young students of Penang Tzu Chi Kindergarten began collecting a handful of rice in their old baby bottles. This movement is very similar to the Bamboo Coin Bank homecoming event in Taiwan each year. No matter if it's money or rice, helping the less fortunate is not the privilege of the rich, but the privilege of the sincere. Tzu Chi volunteers have long been caring for a family living in a cluttered house in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. As the homeowner suffers from Parkinson's disease, her home had become dirty and unsanitary due to her lack of ability to clean. Officials from the district office then sought out Tzu Chi volunteers' assistance to return the care recipient's home to a comfortable living environment.
These take up spaces and are useless. May I throw them out?
The homeowner suffers from the Parkinson's disease, and her son suffers from autism, so they are surrounded by garbage every day. Tzu Chi volunteers are putting all the unwanted stuff into garbage bags. The homeowner originally didn't want them to do it because she cared much about her belongings. Tzu Chi volunteers have come to clean up this home because the district office was concerned that such living condition would attract mosquitoes.
My heart went out to this family when I saw their condition, but the homeowner suffers from some mental disease that she refused our help.
The volunteers came to the district office last time to discuss about this problem, and they were willing to help.
The director is also here to help clean up this home. His heart goes out to the family when he sees their beds have collapsed and are littered with garbage. The homeowner and her son have opened up with assistance from Tzu Chi volunteers.
I've seen her changes because after she had contact with Sister Hong, she slowly opened up her mind and is willing to talk to people about her feelings.
Now the house has a brand new look with new beds. The homeowner and her son have also promised to maintain their living environment.
In Vietnam, the Minh Duc Charitable Foundation has been holding free clinics in remote regions for years. At the most recent free clinic held in Van Quang of Lang Son, more than 200 doctors offer specialized services to more than 6,000 residents over the course of 2 days.
People are waiting in long lines for much-needed medical attention. At the 2-day free clinic held by the Minh Duc Charitable Foundation at a high school in Van Q of Lang Son, more than 200 doctors have come to offer pediatrics, internal medicine, ophthalmology, dentistry, as well as lab services.
More than 200 doctors from hospitals across the country joined the event with over 500 volunteers. Additionally, overseas Chinese from Taiwan, Germany, the United States, Australia, and England have also come to help.
Residents who live in remote regions also get the chance to clean up their look.
Members of the Beauty Association who work in different salons offer free haircuts at this free clinic. We are happy to be able to serve.
With years of free clinic experiences, the foundation has also prepared an ambulance that takes patients with emergency medical needs to the hospitals, where they may receive further assistance.
Treating patients with chronic illnesses and seeing their full recovery is really the best reward for a doctor. Next, we meet 2 14-year-old patients in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, who suffer from scoliosis since young. As a result, they could not walk in straight lines and they couldn't breathe normally as their cardiopulmonary functions were compromised. Thankfully, they recently underwent surgeries to correct their spinal curvature and can live a normal life once more.
Li Zihao is now in the 8th grade. He seems normal when he walks, but 1 year ago, his spinal curvature was 120 degrees that when he bent forward, his shoulders were uneven. Therefore, he couldn't stand up straight.
My body became stiff, and I couldn't walk in a straight line.
I worry when he bent forward, he would stumble to the ground.
14-year-old Ba Jingyi was in a similar situation. Her spinal curvature was 80 degrees, so she couldn't walk in a straight line. She lost her confidence because her classmates mocked her.
She told me her classmates call her weirdo behind her back.
I limped and I couldn't walk in a straight line. I couldn't even pass the flexibility test.
If the curvature is over 80 degrees and not treated, it will affect the cardiopulmonary function. And when the patient is 50 or 60 years old, he will suffer from problems in the respiratory and the cardio systems.
The doctor used screws and other techniques to correct their spines. Now, the 2 students have straighter spines and they have become taller too. The doctor stressed that to prevent scoliosis, we should have the right sitting posture. We shouldn't sit on chairs that are too low or with our legs crossed. Children shouldn't carry school bags that are too heavy either. Once a child is diagnosed of having scoliosis, he should get treatment as early as possible.
At the end of the program, we joined the Siri Tzu Chi Academy in Canada as they hosted Jingsi aphorism drawing competition to inspire students to do good deeds on a daily basis. We will leave you with these inspiring images at the end of the program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.